The Adventures of Buster Bear by Thornton W. Burgess, Chapter 11. Blackie the Crow Tells His Plan. Blackie is a dreamer, Blackie is a schemer, his voice is strong when things go wrong. Blackie is a screamer. It's a fact, Blackie the Crow is forever dreaming and scheming, and almost always it is of mischief. He is one of the smartest and cleverest of all the little people of the green meadows and the green forest, and all the others know it. Blackie likes excitement. He wants something going on. The more exciting it is, the better he likes it. Then he has a chance to use that harsh voice of his, and how he does use it. So now, as he sat in the top of the big hickory tree beside the Smiling Pool and looked down on all the little people gathered there, he was very happy. In the first place, he felt very important, and you know Blackie dearly loves to feel important. They had all come at his invitation to listen to a plan for seeing for themselves if it were really true that Farmer Brown's boy was afraid of Buster Bear. On the big rock in the Smiling Pool sat Little Joe Otter, Billy Mink, and Jerry Muskrat. On his big green lily pad sat Grandfather Frog. On another lily pad sat Spotty the Turtle. On the bank on one side of the Smiling Pool were Peter Rabbit, Jumper the Hare, Danny Meadow Mouse, Johnny Chuck, Jimmy Skunk, Unc Billy Possum, Striped Chipmunk, and Old Mr. Toad. And on the other side of the Smiling Pool were Reddy Fox, Digger the Badger, and Bobby Coon. In the big hickory tree were Chattery the Red Squirrel, Happy Jack the Gray Squirrel, and Sammy Jay. Blackie waited until he was sure that no one else was coming. Then he cleared his throat very loudly and began to speak. "Friends," said he. Everybody grinned, for Blackie has played so many sharp tricks that no one is really his friend unless it is that other mischief maker, Sammy Jay, who you know is Blackie's cousin. But no one said anything, and Blackie went on. Little Joe Otter has told us how he saw Farmer Brown's boy hurry home when he found the footprint of Buster Bear on the edge of the Laughing Brook, and how all the way he kept looking behind him as if he were afraid. Perhaps he was, and then again perhaps he wasn't. Perhaps he had something else on his mind. You have made a hero of Buster Bear because you believe Little Joe's story. Now, I don't say that I don't believe it, but I do say that I will be a lot more sure that Farmer Brown's boy is afraid of Buster when I see him run away myself. Now here is my plan. Tomorrow morning, very early, Sammy Jay and I will make a great fuss near the edge of the green forest. Farmer Brown's boy has a lot of curiosity, and he will be sure to come over to see what it is all about. Then we will lead him to where Buster Bear is. If he runs away, I will be the first to admit that Buster Bear is as great a hero as some of you seem to think he is. It is a very simple plan, and if you will all hide where you can watch, you will be able to see for yourselves if Little Joe Otter is right. Now what do you say? Right away, everybody began to talk at the same time. It was such a simple plan that everybody agreed to it, and it promised to be so exciting that everybody promised to be there. That is, everybody but Grandfather Frog and Spotty the Turtle, who didn't care to go so far away from the Smiling Pool. So it was agreed that Blackie should try his plan the very next morning. The end. The Adventures of Buster Bear, Chapter 12. Farmer Brown's boy and Buster Bear grow curious. Ever since it was light enough to see at all, Blacky the Crow had been sitting in the top of the tallest tree on the edge of the Green Forest nearest to Farmer Brown's house, and never for an instant had he taken his eyes from Farmer Brown's back door. What was he watching for? Why, for Farmer Brown's boy to come out on his way to milk the cows. Meanwhile, Sammy Jay was slipping silently through the Green Forest looking for Buster Bear, so that when the time came, he could let his cousin, Blacky the Crow, know just where Buster was. By and by, the back door of Farmer Brown's house opened, and out stepped Farmer Brown's boy. In each hand he carried a milk pail. Right away, Blacky began to scream at the top of his lungs. "Caw, caw, caw," shouted Blacky. "Caw, caw." And all the time he flew about among the trees near the edge of the Green Forest as if so excited that he couldn't keep still. Now Farmer Brown's boy looked over there as if he wondered what all that fuss was about, as indeed he did, but he didn't start to go over and see. No, sir, he started straight for the barn. Blacky didn't know what to make of it. You see, smart as he is, and shrewd as he is, Blacky doesn't know anything about the meaning of duty, for he never has to work, excepting to get enough to eat. So, when Farmer Brown's boy started for the barn, instead of for the Green Forest, Blacky didn't know what to make of it. He screamed harder and louder than ever, until his voice grew so hoarse he couldn't scream anymore. But Farmer Brown's boy kept right on to the barn. "I'd like to know what you're making such a fuss about, Mr. Crow, but I've got to feed the cows and milk them first," said he. Now all this time, the other little people of the Green Forest and the Green Meadows had been hiding where they could see all that went on. When Farmer Brown's boy disappeared in the barn, Chatterer, the red squirrel, snickered right out loud. "Ha, ha, ha! This is a great plan of yours, Blacky. Ha, ha!" he shouted. Blacky couldn't find a word to say. He just hung his head, which is something Blacky seldom does. "Perhaps if we wait until he comes out again, he will come over here," said Sammy Jay, who had joined Blacky. So it was decided to wait. It seemed as if Farmer Brown's boy never would come out, but at last he did. Blacky and Sammy Jay at once began to scream and make all the fuss they could. Farmer Brown's boy took the 2 pails of milk into the house. Then out he came and started straight for the Green Forest. He was so curious to know what it all meant that he couldn't wait another minute. Now there was someone else with a great deal of curiosity also. He had heard the screaming of Blacky the Crow and Sammy Jay, and he had listened until he couldn't stand it another minute. He just had to know what it was all about. So at the same time, Farmer Brown's boy started for the Green Forest. This other listener started towards the place where Blacky and Sammy were making such a racket. He walked very softly so as not to make a sound. It was Buster Bear. The end.